Hello, and welcome to Mtech's training on how to create a TFS item. So let's say we're in the program, and we're working in the program, and we're just gonna create a monthly cost center with a transaction ID. $2,100 and a farm type of sim, and hit OK. And we're going to do new, and you notice new doesn't do anything. So this is obviously a bug. Well, for the demonstration it's a bug. This is a new feature I'm working with, so it's not totally programmed yet. But we're going to act like it's a bug. So what do you do? So first step is to open TFS. So we have that open here. And then you want to go to Team and New Bug. And we'll expand this. Some people may start with the title. My recommendation is not to start with the title yet. You want to farrow out and get your description and your steps done and know exactly what the bug is before you finalize the title. So we'll go through here. The big things are in yellow. Those are required, as always at TFS. So the customer, we're going to put Mtech here because it's a test build for development we're working with. The folder path. So if we go back to my Mtech here, minimize this screen, you can see here the folder path. So you just copy that and paste it directly into here. The only caveat to this is if you're working with the version 6, you need to replace the queue with something like the fully qualified domain name, so it would be svr-ts3. Since version 6 is still on TS3 and has not been moved to TS5. We'll go ahead and put that back. The product group here, that's going to be required, but you don't want to start with the product group. You want to start with the screen location. So to get screen location, go back here. I'm going to open up the Mtech program and close this window. And what you want to do is backtrack your steps fully. So general, and then I went to products, then prices, then overhead estimates. Minimize that. We'll shrink this over a bit for right now. Okay, so screen location, general, then products, then prices. Okay, now screen. So my screen is overhead estimates. So I can tell you that because this is a development build and not a fully implemented feature yet, overhead estimates is not in this list. So what do you do if you run into a screen that is not in the TFS item list? Well, you can email Chris Lee and ask him to add that screen to the screen pull-down list in TFS. He usually does it very quickly. It's kind of a very simple thing to do. But we'll assume it's not in the list right now, and we'll move forward. So product group, since it's under general and general, would be general. Proposed version. So this is the version that you are working on, and it should match the version that you have here in the data folder pool. Don't worry about the version to fix, that's for development. All you need to worry about is the proposed version and the data folder path match. You can't test something in 725 and say the proposed fixed version is 724 or vice versa. These have to match. So now, most people would move on to the pain points here now. I'm going to wait till the end, and I'll explain why when I do that. So now we're going to move to the steps to reproduce. We have 4 fields here: transactional data, steps to reproduce, actual results, and expected results. I'm going to go over each field here. Transactional data is any information that is pertinent to the bug. So entity numbers, dates, any data like that you would put in the transactional data and refer to it in the steps to reproduce. So in steps to reproduce, we are going to start with our mapping here. Also, there's a feature here called numbering. It auto numbers the steps, so you don't have to do it manually, and you don't have to try and re-edit if you miss a step, put anything in. Really love and use this feature because it's very helpful and it's there automatically, so you don't have to worry about it. So step 1 is going to be getting to the page because the screen is not in the drop-downs. If the screen was in the drop-downs, we would skip this step. So I'm going to scroll this over a little bit. So we're going to go general, general, products, prices, and overhead estimates. Okay. Step 2. So we're now on our overhead estimate screen. We're going to click New. And you can see here it's asking for data. So we want to always up here, if you're dealing with multiple sets of transactional data or different screens, like if you're dealing with feed transfers or anything FDSA or where you would have multiple separate groups, especially BRPA and such, you can designate the different transactional data by grouping stuff in sets. So I'll call this set 1. And then I'm going to use this function here for bullets. And period type. And we're going to choose monthly. It doesn't really matter. And just like you're entering into the table, you write the transactional data here. So transaction basis, we're going to do cost center. Entity ID. We'll pick something kind of high. 2010 sounds good. Farm type, we'll just choose dim. So now we have all our information here, and you notice to continue we have to click OK. So we put that in the steps. So the idea here is we as users see the program from this side. The developers see the program from a code side. They may not even know what the interface looks like. So the idea here is to put steps and data points so that even somebody who doesn't know the program from either side, we get somebody off the street and ask them to run these steps, you should get the actual results you put in your ticket. These have to be super, super simple, step by step. You can't be vague. You can't use terms of just run projections. You have to say step by step what is required to meet that step. And that's because the developers need to follow, we in QA need to follow, the customer should be able to follow. Like I said, you need to write these steps and have the transactional data there, like we pulled somebody off the street, sat them in a chair, and said, follow these steps and tell us what you get. So you can see here, it created this. So what I'm going to try and do is edit. So I'm going to put in my step. And so you can see I've got my new window up here. Now I want to click New. And now nothing happens. So the actual result would be nothing happens. Expected result would be So the actual bug is that there is no new record line appearing under the details child grid. Because if you hit new, nothing happens. All you want here in the actual results is what happens. If you get an error, say basically what the error is, copy the error, and paste it into the error stack trace. If you get an incorrect calculation, say exactly what the calculation is. Say you were doing a report and the hen days were off, then you would say hen days equal 200. You say exactly what you're seeing on the screen. That's it. You want the exact error and exactly what's wrong. Don't say, well, generally the hen days are. That type of in-specific stuff doesn't help the developers and doesn't help us. Developers need to know exactly what you're seeing and exactly what you should be seeing. So let's go back to the hen days. So if I should be seeing, say hen days are actually 205. And then I will put how I came up with that calculation. So you have to put how you came up with that answer. Just saying hen days should equal 205 doesn't really help us figure out how you're coming to that number. So hen days is, say we need, the hen days are calculated by hatch date we'll say sometime in November. So you have cell date minus hatch date equals hen days, right? So we need to know the calculation you're using to reach this number. That way we know if the calculation's wrong, if the number's wrong, where in the process the disconnect is. Also, if you have extra notes, and by notes I mean things pertinent to the ticket. Let's say was it working before an update? What they and us in QA need is exactly what the issue is, how you came to the conclusion that it's an issue. This is your chance to prove your point. The system works. So please bear that in mind when you're writing notes. So we have our notes, we have our steps, we have our transactional data, and we have our actual results. So now we can go back to our title. Now remember, I didn't do the title in the beginning. That's because our title needs to be tied to what the expected results and the actual bug is. So the title needs to be plain English and to be as helpful as possible as to what the actual problem is. So we'll say Let's go back to our original bug where nothing happens when we hit the new button. Okay. So what's really helpful is if you put the screen, general, so you see how that says new record line under details does not appear when new button is clicked, because it does not. But I don't have new record should appear. There should be no action verbs in the title other than, clicked or opened. It shouldn't be demanding anything. So now we have one more thing to do. We have to click on details. And now we know what the problem is. We've defined the problem. We've recreated the problem, and we've verified the steps. We have a plain English title. And so now under pain points, we can assign pain points. So pain points is up to your discretion. Please be honest. So this is a bug in development. So it's most likely, it doesn't impair any business stuff whatsoever. It's not a crash. So we'll choose that one. Under priority, only users that are using it as development right now. It's not a finished thing. And then under environment, it's internal testing in a dev version. So we're going to hit save. And that's it. I've created the bug. You have to remember that you have to create this for somebody just walking in off the street that doesn't know our program from the front side or the back end. And so it has to be very precise and very simple. If you want to check the pain points, you simply hit refresh. And you can see my item has a pain points of 2 because it's a development build and it's not really a bug. It's an unfinished section of the program. And there you have it. Basic entering of a bug in TFS for Mtech-systems. Thank you.